YTI definitely had an effect on that because it just started some of these questions that happened and made me wonder about a lot of things. But it started out as a more academic interest, and then I sort of realized that what was really driving it was more of a connection to God. So it can affect you in a lot of ways, and you just might not realize it until it's been a few years, and you're like, oh crap, all of a sudden I'm going to divinity school.
I wanted to go to school and study religion. I'd always been very oriented in math and science, but I think that I like the overlap of my analytical mind in math and science and my analytical mind in theology. And for me, I guess it was more about engaging in social justice than it was about, and trying to imitate people like Jesus and other great, people who in the world today who strive for social justice in different ways. So I guess that's I grew closer to God because I was able to see the world kind of through a new lens, and that I was going to, have a new focus on caring for the marginalized in society. And I guess that, not really an academic focus maybe, as much as people who go to school to study religion. But I'm still very engaged in different things that the church teaches, and how I think that a lot of things that the church teaches are harmful, but then a lot of it's good. Fundamentally, the church and Jesus is very good. So kind of analyzing also the church's practices.
It was the first time that I'd ever heard anybody refer to God as female or anything other than male, and it was kind of a shock to me at first. I was just like, this is so weird. How can you possibly say that? But now similar to Kate, I think of God as very gender neutral. Gender doesn't really apply. So that definitely changed the way I view God, and then that changed my relationship with God, because there was kind of a new dynamic. It was not I think in some ways calling God Father, we kind of project some of the issues we have with our actual fathers onto him, and that's not necessarily a great thing. So that was very helpful and freeing kind of in that relationship.
So there was this guy named Kurt, and he was one of the staff members, and he really encouraged me. He assured me that God can handle the questions that make you angry too, and some of the questions that I didn't really know how to reconcile with, especially issues related to sexuality, because that was something I had never really talked about within my church, because a lot of Korean churches that's a very taboo topic. So for me, YTI, because of Kurt, I was really encouraged to bring my questions to God, because sometimes it is almost easier just to talk indirectly to people who you think know God more, but it helped me to go to God first sometimes with those questions.
As I started developing into kind of my own person, my parents often read it as kind of implicit judgment against them whenever I chose a different path than they would, which was really hard for me to deal with. It was kind of this is my life. Can you not take everything as a personal attack on you? My parents aren't awful or anything, but that's a standard tension growing up. And I think especially when you have a YTI type experience, which sets you to develop in a different path potentially than your family or your community, it can make that worse. Or not worse, harder, rougher.
Definitely for me, there were a lot of people who kind of either didn't support what I wanted to do or flat out made it impossible or hard, in various ways. And that's why I was talking about, the self-care, because, it's easy, when you feel so passionate when you leave YTI, you're going to change the world, you're going to fix all these issues, but there are a lot of issues, and there are a lot of obstacles into fixing those issues. And so it's very easy to get very frustrated with people who don't see it the way you do. And I guess you kind of have to, in the back of your mind, remember, they didn't come from it the same way you did, and maybe approach it more of trying to help them see it the way you see it instead of oh my gosh, they're wrong, they're an idiot, I'm not talking to them. Though sometimes you need to delete those people on Facebook. It's just not